Okay, so I just wanted to make another short video with another influential guy who I've met on my travels. Mick Stott is a resilience coach, and I've done some training with him, and I really wanted to share Mick's message around resilience today. So over to you, Mick.
Hello, Glenn. Really good to have an opportunity to share some of my thoughts. I think probably, the first thing that I should establish is who I am and where I come from, essentially. And certainly I come from 30 years in the military, being an Army Physical Training Corps instructor, preparing people mentally and physically for combat, essentially. So that was my job for about 30 years. And I was also a young international standard athlete. I played karate at a very good level, and also when I was in the military, I was a fencer, and I did a lot of combat sports, really. A lot of sports that put me individually in the line of performance, where basically there was only you to rely on, yeah. And so one of the jobs that I did while I was in the military was I was tasked towards the end of my career to find out why we were losing so many of our best candidates. So people were joining the military, and then after a short period of time, they were going home. And these were some of our fittest candidates, you see, Glenn. They were, some of our best guys. And so one of my jobs was to find out why. What I found out very quickly was that we had a great model for changing what people do and turning them into soldiers, if you like. And we also had a great model for changing how people think. What we didn't have was a really good model for working with how people feel emotion and then respond because of emotion. And so this was a real interesting area for me. And the bottom line was, for me, that is the main driver of someone's resilience. When I look at resilience, resilience for me, if you could put it in terms of a definition, it would be something like, being able to set yourself a goal, and irrespective of what happens, being able to withstand whatever happens to achieve that goal, and then come out of it and being okay with doing it again. For me, that would equal a level of resilience. Whatever that goal might be for your average person to have a happy life, to have a great relationship, to start work, to continue work, to change work, to have a family. So it could be any goal. It doesn't have to be anything hardcore. But having worked with high-end business and international athletes since I left the forces in 2004, I then had lots of different opportunities to put my resilience model into a lot of those spaces. And I was more interested in, well, how do we get this person to achieve what they want to achieve that they're struggling with, and make sure that they adapt as a result of that? Because we can give some people experiences, they can have the experience and say, I'm never going to do that again. That means they haven't adapted. So I was interested in all those elements of that. And the model that I created is a model that I've taken into lots of different environments, prison environments. I've taken them into high-performing environments, such as international sport, preparing Olympians, Russian snowboard squad, British fencing, British skeleton, Georgia rugby, Hong Kong rugby with elite 7s and 15s, and just across the board, really, with a lot of the people that I've worked with. But essentially, I worked on 4 basic component parts for resilience. And the first one, if you look at resilience as a model, and you look at what we want to achieve, then for me, if you get these 4 bits in order, then there's a good chance you're going to end up being more resilient. What I found when I went to international sport was that I conducted something called a level of need elicitation. And I did an elicitation that basically allowed me to find out how emotionally loaded the people in the room were as I was talking to them. And this is just, there's nothing invasive about this. It's just a conversation. And by understanding conversation and people's language, I can now pick up which areas of their lives had emotions in. Because for me, the 3 things that stop you from performing, what the first thing is when you experience emotions like anger, sadness, fear, guilt, hurt, or anxiety. The other one is that these emotions tend to initiate limiting beliefs like, well, I just can't do it. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of that. I'm a coward. I'm not brave. Any excuses that we find ourselves using are generally linked to limiting beliefs. And remember that emotions and beliefs are created wherever you create them in your life. And you know, there are some that would say that we create the majority of our limitations between the ages of 0 and 7. And the rest are just developments of those. So the stuff that we learned in that period is the stuff that we brought through into, you know, later in life. So we have negative emotions that limit our performance. We have limiting beliefs that are like the triggers to our performance, negative and positive. And we also have internal conflicts. And these might be things like, you know, sometimes I think I can, sometimes I think I can't. I'm confused. Part of me wants to do this and part of me doesn't. And for me, those are the 3 common denominators for underperforming. And as we go through life, Glenn, you know, we gather emotion in our system. We either create positive or powerful beliefs, or we create limiting beliefs. And we also create internal conflicts depending on where we find ourselves, right? And so if I look at those 3 as the things that underpin underperforming, then if I look at the model that I use for resilience that I've used with lots of different environments, it's linked to something called performance lifestyle. And performance lifestyle looked at a concept where you would say, well, we have 168 hours in a week. And if I'm an athlete, a professional athlete, I'm going to be working for about 20 hours of that, training my body to perform. And so we were interested in, well, if we take 20 off 168, we end up with 148. If my maths are right. But the bottom line, not a complex equation, is it? But when you're as thick as a green bank butty, as my dad used to say. So if you take 20 off 168, you end up with 148. And we said, well, actually, it's what you're doing in your private life outside of your athletic life that has the biggest impact on your athletic life. Now, you can apply the same logic to work. If you really, you know, are struggling in work, I can guarantee it won't be just because of work. Now, and you have the wheel of life on your website, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And so for me, the first thing I want to know is, how happy are you with your wheel? You know, what is your level of happiness with the wheel of life? So that little exercise is an awesome exercise.
Yeah.
Because it shows you generally the bigger picture of your life. And I'm sure that you can sort of subdivide some of those spokes into different areas of your life as well. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm interested in what is your level of happiness with that wheel? Because when we get these things popping into our world, like these beliefs, and we get the emotions and we get the conflicts, they're the things that steal our happiness. They're the things that steal our energy. And it can cost us, when we start to get a little bit worn down or less resilient, it can cost us more energy to run our body that day. And that's generally because of the triggers that we're introduced to. And if I got up in the morning and I banged my knee on the bed end and was already feeling a little bit fed up before I went to work, there's a good chance that things might sort of roll that way that day, unless I decide to change something, right?
Yeah.
So the bottom line there is that, you know, these 3 things are going to govern pretty much where we're at on the inside. But if we look at the 4 pillars of resilience linked to the performance lifestyle model that we talked about, the first one is sleep. So I used to ask athletes and businessmen, how well do you sleep? And of course, sleep is really for the body. If we're working hard and we're doing quite a lot of stuff, then we need sleep. And, you know, I would say there's an average of what we need, but I've never believed in being prescriptive with things, because it's whatever you feel you need. And it's whatever you're comfortable with at the level of your function. But the bottom line is, without sleep, we don't really perform that well. And, you know, energy breeds energy. So if we sleep too much, equally, that's not a great thing, because the more we sleep, the more we want. So it's finding a balance where you can function well with the amount of sleep you have. So sleep is for the body. We also get a level of neurological recovery from that as well. And all of that's well documented. There's loads of resources out there on sleep. That's not rocket science, really. And the next pillar is what we eat. And I know, Glenn, that you're a bit of a specialist in terms of what we put in our bodies. I like the odd pie myself because I think sometimes, you know, food can be motivational as much as it's nutritional. Nothing wrong with a good pie, let me tell you. So it's what we put into our body is fundamental to our health. You know, you can't eat processed stuff after processed stuff after processed stuff and expect to feel vibrant. No. You know, you've got to find out what's right for your body, and there's lots of information out there as well on that. So that's fundamental to your health, and it's also fundamental to your mind's health. I've seen some really interesting stuff out there, you know, with some of the lads that I've worked with that have shown me that, you know, if they take a little snapshot of what your blood is doing based on what you eat, they can tell you how, you know, your level of well-being, both mental and physical. It's worth remembering that the mind and the body are the same thing to me, Glenn. Yeah. You know, people talk about the mind and body like they're two separate entities, but whatever you've got going on in your mind, I can guarantee will talk to your body. And whatever you've got going on in your body will also be communicated to your mind. They're the same thing. So we've got sleep, we've got what we eat, we've got food. And another pillar that we used to focus on was exercise. Because if you never move your body, if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't stay strong enough to carry you through life. I mean, the bottom line is this is the vehicle that is taking you through your life. So if you exercise it without over-exercising it, if you do things that are beneficial to your body, like exercise, and whatever exercise suits you. You know, I've never been a runner, but I still do enjoy the odd jog. I've started doing a bit more running now than I ever have. But did lots of running while I was in the military, and did lots of weight training, and did lots of karate and fencing and kayaking and rock climbing and mountaineering, you know. So just, and I'm not saying that everybody should do that, but what I'm saying is do something with your body, get your body out of bed, get your body moving, whatever that is, walking, you know, and just make sure that whatever you do, you enjoy it. Yeah. Because I can guarantee this, you will not do anything for a long period if you don't enjoy it. So we get our body moving, and we do the type of exercise that's not detrimental to us. You know, certainly when I went back out to Hong Kong, I've always been quite strong in my body. And when I was out in Hong Kong, I was doing sessions in the gym, and I was getting my body measured by a system called First Beat. And what they measure is how your nervous system is responding to the activity that you're doing. And I'm not going to go into the science of it, but the bottom line is, if you're getting a dark blue line appear on this trace that they take, you're doing exercise that's not useful to your body. It's more detrimental to your body. Yeah. And I was sort of benching 130 kilos again. And of course, some of the young lads, I'm in a room with young lads, and I know I'm starting to think I'm young and hard again, but in reality, I'm not. I'm an old fart. So it is about recognizing where you are in the grand scheme of things, and also being sensible with what you do, but have fun when you do it is the key for me. Yeah. And those are three of the pillars, but the most important pillar, I think, Glenn, is the one where we think about our mind, our mindset. Yeah. You know, if you look at athletic performance and you take performance as a whole, you know, the biggest impactor on any performance is our attitude, our mindset. And of course, for me, there's no point working out and working your body if you don't work in. And there's lots of different ways of doing that. You know, when I work with athletes, you couldn't talk about meditation or getting into your feeling mind because they'd just flip and laugh at you. But we were in the mind gym in their world. Yeah. But it's all the same stuff, whether you're doing mindfulness, whether you're doing meditation, whether you're doing hypnosis, self-hypnosis, binaural beats, transcendental meditation, or you're just going for a walk and switching off. For me, it's all the same thing, but it's as important. It's more important to do that. And I would say that is the most important pillar, because it's the pillar that literally can influence all the other three the most. Yeah. And of course, you know, I specialize in transition, so I help people change their relationship with the past. Because generally speaking, when we want something in life, when we want more of something in life, what happens is your mind starts to let you know where you've been. So imagine now that I wanted to become a trainer, or I wanted a different job. my mind would naturally show me the other jobs that I've had that are similar to the one that I'm going to get. And I'm either going to see that as a problem or a solution. Now, if I've accumulated lots of negative emotions in previous jobs, there's a good chance my mind is going to go, well, actually, when you went into this space last time, this is how you felt. And we just feel the hijack, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that mindset is, the mindset pillar is really fundamental. Because if I learn to relax every day and I spend time relaxing every day, there's a good chance that even by doing that, I'm going to impact on the other three pillars. So I help people change their relationship with the past so that they can do that meditation, so that they can go inside. Because if we've got a lot of stuff going on inside, sometimes it's difficult to actually get inside.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Glenn, we know now when we're starting to struggle in life, because when we've got a lot of emotional stuff going on the inside, what our mind tends to do is it looks for something to lean on. And these are known as distractions. So I can always tell when an athlete was sort of falling off the rails a little bit, because they'd be using excessive amounts of porn. They'd be exercising to the point where they hurt themselves and not care. They would be on social media every hour of the day. They would be shopping to the point where they regretted everything that they bought. They would be eating just to make themselves feel comfortable. Gambling is another distraction. And there are a number of other distractions, but essentially what we're saying is that when your mind literally cannot do without these things, and these things are having a detrimental impact on your life, and we know that they are, or whether they're not, the bottom line is that's a distraction. Now, when we start to experience these distractions, maybe using drugs or using alcohol to the point where, we use it to switch off or move away from things, avoid things, we now know that we're getting into a space where basically that's where our level of happiness is not really high. It's so low, in fact, that we probably need at that point to do some change work. And that's really where I specialize, because I'm really interested in how I help people change their relationship with past experiences that have been loaded with emotion. And of course, just because you're an international athlete or a high-end businessman does not mean that you are a great performer in every level and that you don't have any of this stuff dancing on the inside. In fact, on the contrary, I would say that a lot of the guys that I've worked with in high-end business and some of the sporting arenas have been the most stressed. So we never stop accumulating in our nervous system, Glenn, and if we never stop accumulating, then at some point, if we're not careful and we've got all these distractions going on, at some point our mind is going to say to us, I'm sorry, mate, I'm going to make you lie down for a week. Or I'm going to give you so much that basically you've got to stop. And this is where we experience breakdowns. This is where we experience, we might experience a nervous breakdown. It might be that you do something that pushes you over the top, and all of a sudden, we experience depression, or we experience neurosis-related conditions, anxiety, hyperarousal, and of course, the way to avoid these is to focus on this pillar, where we regularly go inside and we learn to switch off and relax and introspect. And in reality, you do yourself a couple of favors when you do that, because you also, by introspection, by going inside, you also allow yourself an opportunity to reflect and embrace. How to get rid of the panic attack, I tell them to turn the panic attack up, because in embracing the attack, what happens is they calm down.
Yeah.
Fighting it, whatever we resist persists. Instead of fighting it, we embrace it. Yeah. And introspection allows us to embrace things, Glenn, and to get in touch with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because the more we deny ourselves, the challenge that we have with that is that the more we deny it, the more we push it away. Every time it wants to come back, it always comes back with a bit more force, right?
Sure, yeah. I think it's about...
So for me, if you can set a goal... Yeah, go on, Glenn, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think
I'll
it's
have
about...
a tea while we're talking.
I think it's about embracing who you are and how you are, isn't it, in that moment? And sometimes that's difficult, so we try and turn away. But just sitting there, as you said, on the cold face and just embracing those emotions and integrating it into the mind is helpful.
And being okay with being who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's always, you know, let's look at the ugly truth. If you want to change, you've got to prepare to look at the ugly truth, because that's always your start point.
Sure.
But you've also got to be kind to yourself.
Mm.
You know, with a lot of the guys that I've worked with, the indication that tells me how comfortable you are in a space is what you say in here to yourself. Mm. You know, a lot of people think that it doesn't matter what you say in here, but whatever you say in here sets the tone of this body that you have. Yeah. It sets the conditions for it. And so being kind to yourself is a really important thing. And being nice to yourself and enjoying things. You know, I often chat to people and I say, are you happy? And I say, no. And I say, well, what do you do that makes you happy? Well, nothing. Well, you know, the bottom line is energy breeds energy. And you don't necessarily have to do a huge thing, Glenn. You know, I would say a little bit like by little bit. Incremental change is fantastic. Yeah. So if you can't do the whole of something, just do little parts of it. I'm writing a book at the moment, and if I sat down and thought that I've got to write 100,000 words, it would overwhelm me. So what I did was I set a little plan, and I said to myself, right, I'm just going to write 5 minutes a day.
Great.
Now, the moment I write 5 minutes, it always ends up being longer than 5 minutes. Mm. But what I'm doing is I'm giving myself just a little pace stop. So incremental, you know, if you change 100 small things, that equates to 100% change eventually when you get to the 100.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mick.
So that's my take on resilience, Glenn. Yeah. That's my take on resilience. And of course, it's never as simple as that, is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Of course, doing is a lot harder, but like you said, just step by step. So that's great, Mick. Thank you. And I just wanted to confirm really that Mick is part of our workout space group. So I've got a group of coaches and really inspirational guys just like Mick who are there waiting for any messages that come in. If you just want to join and start a conversation about something that's troubling you or something that you want to learn about, then I've got a really amazing team of guys there that are ready to listen. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that. Thanks so much, Mick.
Yeah, and I'm happy, Glenn, if anybody wants to learn more about transition and adaptation and resilience, you know, I've got a lot of resources that I'm happy to share with people anyway.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much,
Mick. More than happy to help people if they contact me online, more than happy to give them my opinion or even, you know, I'm more than happy to sort of do a little one-to-one with anyone that's struggling, just to show them the way. Brilliant. All right, mate?
Thanks, Mick. Take care.
Safe. Yeah,
bye, mate.